There's nothing quite like trying to scare the absolute garbage out of your friends while you're out camping, and nobody got more of that action than the good old lumberjacks from back in the day. Lumberjacks didn't have a lot going for them, honestly. Their whole job was to cut down trees and move around massive logs, all before machines and decent pay existed to help them out. But after long days of working, they'd all come back to camp and sit around the fire, where they would tell each other about mysterious creatures that they came across while they were out chopping logs. Fearsome critters include all the cryptids that were made up by these lumberjacks, which while sometimes they had some sort of purpose like getting everyone back to camp on time, the vast majority of these creatures were made up for the sole purpose of memeing on the people gullible enough to believe in even the wackiest of lies. And while the most famous fearsome critters have actually been proven to exist, you know, Bigfoot and jackalopes, I'm out here to put my Boy Scout knowledge to the test to catch some of the more obscure ones on camera, such as the Footed Dum Dum. This goofy fella is described as being a musical creature that used its tight drum-like skin on its back and two tails to make a beat. The Dum-Dum's song is apparently what tells the fish to get freaky and lay some eggs. I guess this creature was conjured up to explain why some years lumberjacks couldn't catch as many fish, instead blaming it on the game wardens for scaring away the Dum-Dum and ruining the fun of hunting. Now, most of these fearsome critters rely mainly on the description of their functions rather than their physical appearance. Obviously, we got some explanation with the back and tails and feet, but luckily for this fella, we even got an old illustration from back in the day to help us understand what we're looking for. But sadly, the duck-footed dum-dum supposedly only comes around every spring, so I think we'll move on to finding a less seasonal critter, such as the tragic Hugag. This beast has all sorts of lore to it, all explaining how unfortunate its entire existence is. The Hugag can be most easily compared to a moose with no antlers, with a few key changes like four-toed feet, hairless head and neck, and floppy ears, but it's got a few key traits that make its life pretty unbearable. First, it's got an absurdly long upper lip for some reason, meaning it can't munch on any of the plants on the ground. It relies on eating the bark and twigs off of trees. This is already bad enough, but even worse is that it has no joints in its legs. This means it's gotta walk around all silly like this, but even worse is that it can't ever lay down. The only potential rest it could get is by leaning against trees, which apparently hunters took advantage of by cutting the base of the trees just enough so that when the Hugag leans on it, it falls over and it's easily captured. While this would be a pretty wild sight to see, Hugags basically spend all day traveling because what else would you do? So for now, I'm gonna keep looking around for other creatures while we wait for one to walk on by. There's a few kind of funny critters that have some interesting traits, such as the fur-bearing trout, which is exactly what it sounds like. The gilligaloo bird lays square eggs that the lumberjacks would hard boil to use as dice, I guess. And the tripodero has two telescopic legs, so when it sees some prey, it'll rise from the bushes and shoot mud balls from out of its mouth to stun small animals to go eat. But then we got a fearsome critter that seems pretty similar to some ancient legends from all across the world. This unique snake is seen biting its own tail, much like Ouroboros from Greek mythology, which to them resembles deep concepts such as life, death, and rebirth. But for lumberjacks, this is the hoop snake that rolls around instead of slithering. The hoop snake is supposedly super dangerous if it catches you, but I just think it's so funny that such an iconic symbol is being used in such a silly way. But some of these cryptids are much less of visual icons, such as the squidgecum squee and the wunks. These two creatures are extremely shy, and if anybody comes near them, they'll hide in an instant in their own unique ways. Wunks will simply dig a hole in the ground and cover it instantly, and squidgecum squee will swallow itself whole. However that works. And we also got a bonus critter that will hide from people as well, but with bad intentions this time. The hide behind is a nocturnal creature, so I know I won't find one today, and I'm glad about it. The hide behind does what the name implies. If you look at it, it'll hide behind stuff. But unlike the squidgecum squeeze and the wunks, the hide behind will purposely sneak up on humans to capture and devour them. This creature was used to explain several disappearances of loggers that never made it back to camp, but luckily a successful deterrent was found: alcohol. This definitely makes it seem like these were made up by drunk loggers to explain random noises in the woods. Obviously, we don't have a good physical description of all these because nobody has seen them, so I don't even know what I'd be looking for anyway. So probably our best bet of catching a fearsome critter is with the most descriptive one I've come across: the goofus bird. This silly fella has such specific notes on it that it's gotta be real. Goofus has a turkey-like head, a long green neck, silver scales, and a black right wing with a pink left wing. But Goofus's main gimmick is that it flies backwards, only caring about where it's been, not where it's going. If you ask me, that's probably the worst mindset you could possibly have, and the Lumberjacks agreed. The Goofus bird was basically used as an insult towards the kind of guys that have a low intellectual curiosity and are indifferent towards their forward direction. Goofus also apparently builds its nests upside down. I'm not seeing any signs of those guys either, though. You know, I'm just gonna get a nice wide view of this entire area to see if we can find any creatures that are in the vicinity at all. I don't know, man. I thought I could be one of the next great photographers that took a famous photo like all those Bigfoot photos, but with a good camera this time instead of being all pixelated. There's so much untapped potential here. Barely any of the fearsome critters have ever been photographed. These drawings look so iconic, and the photos would be even cooler. But you know, at least none of us have it quite as bad as the squonk. The squonk's original description is pretty vague, just saying that it has misfitting skin which is covered with warts and moles. And apparently the squonk is self-conscious to the point that it is always unhappy. Hunters who are good at tracking are able to follow a squonk by its tear-stained trail, for the animal weeps constantly. Like, man, no matter what tough luck I'm having finding these fearsome critters, at least I'll never be able to dissolve myself with my own tears quite like the squonk can. Still doesn't make me feel much better, though. Wait. That's a hoop snake! I barely escaped the hoop snake, but I got the photo. Yeah, can't wait to get famous off of this photo. Help me get there by hitting subscribe.